They just want you to sit in your chair and go, hip hip hooray, for the Western press and the Western narrative, regurgitating the same old, every single day, without this. Please watch the first two episodes, the second series. Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Hi everyone. Monday. You wouldn't believe, would you, that the weeks are just flying over. They're just going. 1 week, you're talking, you're doing these pods, and then the next you go, hello, it's Monday, and the weeks are incredible. And what are we talking about tonight? God knows. We're talking history, obviously. But, is there any set things? Just put a couple of things up. I've got my map there. I want to show you the map, how Liverpool was, and how it's changed. And still changing today. People are saying it's not for the better. I was watching a video yesterday or Saturday, I'm not quite too sure now, and this fella going around the streets, and what he showed shocked me. So it is changing, and I'm talking within 52 weeks a year. And I can't believe some people, a good friend of mine phoned me today, and she said, my friends, my sister, my auntie and her friends in Australia, Australians, were looking at you. The Channel 5 programme, I've never seen it, to be honest, talking about Charles Dickens. And, we had a chat, and I was very surprised at the way some people, she's a lovely person, I love her to bits, to be honest. And, but there's some people, unfortunately, don't know things. They don't know things. They just go, oh, I didn't know that. When they start talking about, but I've been arguing with people over the last couple of years. But that's not for now, that's for a programme that I do about current affairs. Anyway, we've got this sort of mantra, shall we say, of what we believe in, and we can't accept what the truth is. Even at the start of the programme, the introduction, where you see me saying, the same old, regurgitating the same old, and that's what you're getting every day, rather than the alternative. And people don't even know what the alternative is. That's the sad thing. That's the sad indictment, really. It really is. It really is. And I try to tell people, it's just makes me sad, actually. it does make me sad when you're trying to, explain. People don't do things for nothing. They want motives to do things. They need a motive. That's why, the likes of prison, what's the name? Murderers, and as soon as someone's murdered, they look for a motive, and more or less they catch them because of that motive. So you have to. I go back to the Roman times. I go back to a fella by the name of Verica. A fella by the name of Verica. And these fellas were trying to take over his tribe. And he went to Rome because this tribe were client kings of Rome since the days of Caesar, Julius Caesar, that is. Julius. And he went over, he said, listen, he said, people are trying to take over my land, my tribe. And they ain't Romans. So that gave them the motive and reason to go into Britannica, as they called it, and cross Oceanus Britannicus, as they called the English Channel. And that was in AD 43, the Claudian invasion it was called. Got there and there, sorted everyone out. And one of the lads was named Caraticus. And Caraticus was hunted down by the Romans until he was finally handed over by one of the great queens, Cartamandua, who you never heard of. And he went to Rome. They brought him back to Rome and changed, paraded him around the Roman streets. And what did they do? Did they execute him? No. They gave him a pension and a villa. That's what they did. The Romans weren't the savages of people some historians make them out to be. But that's what I'm saying about today. You have to have a motive to go into anyway. It's like the start of the Second World War, for example. The big H went into Poland. That was the excuse. We've got it. So they declared war. This country declared war on Germany. We've always declared war, The Germans have it. Don't believe that, will you? And the same again in the First World War. But they never went into Poland this time. They went into Belgium. And I used to say in a lecture, for a little bit of humour, I'll just say, what do you think they went into? And they always said, well, they are allies. They were like, but I said, no. I said, because Easter was coming up, and Christmas, Christmas and Easter. And if the Germans had taken over Belgium, you wouldn't have any Belgian chocolate for sweet clubs and Easter eggs. You should see them all sitting there like. But that's me. No, I'm only joking, we used to say. Say, you're right there, they were, we were the allies of Belgium. Right, so let's see what before I bring in my great guest. That's him. Love him. I phoned him off last night and he didn't answer, and I was worrying, I was going, but he's gone out, But anyway, he never went out. He phoned me this morning and I said, I fell asleep. A couple of scotches and I was away. When I woke up, it was too late to phone you. Okay. That's how I'm on in the moment. The Red Bird. Ready for our history lesson, Frank? Thank you, Red Bird. I hope you're getting on. Isn't it hot now? It's now, right now. Roasting. I never slept last night, because of the heat. Soz Frank forgot to say, hi, Professor Carlyle. Hi, Andy. Don't be worrying about that. Is Anthony joining us, Frank? Not if you don't want to. I won't put him on. No, of course he is. He's there every week with the Red Bears. You're an argument master, Frank. No, no. Oh, look at him. The emphatic, great fella, him. Really good fella. Pew! Up the Reds. Even in Frank, even in Joe. The emphatic, he's great, honestly. He's a lovely man. And so is this lovely lady. Even in Frank and Ann. That's Lynn said, all her auntie in Australia and all her auntie's friends saying, does your niece Lynn know him? She said, yeah, he's a good friend of Frank's. She said, wow. Felt like Clint Eastwood. Anyway, Toscana. Ciao, Franco. Ciao, everyone. Hope you all had a good weekend. I always have a quiet weekend, to be honest. I was supposed to go up to see Jared, but no one come for me to go, so didn't see him. Anyway, that's besides. And Johan, good evening, Frank, Anthony, and legends in the chat. Hope everyone is well. And Bella says to Toscana, ciao. Ciao. Lovely. And I'm going to bring in this wonderful man. He's we have conversations, and it goes on for, what time is it, honestly, just goes. And there he is, it's the wonderful international artist, Mr. Brown, Anthony Brown. Evening, Anthony.
Good evening, Frank. Good evening, all. Good evening, Lynn.
Do you know, I just mentioned there when we phone each other, and it's not to say like, listen, I'll be speaking to you tomorrow, or I'll give you the ring tomorrow, or what do you think what we should talk about on the show? It's not like that, is it? Just ring, then we go on for hours talking about everything.
About it, we could start with a bus ticket, and then it takes us everywhere in the world. But
Yeah.
like this morning, obviously the first panic for me was that I missed you last night, and as I said to you last night, I've kind of been on it, enjoying the days, enjoying the light weather. So up early, going to do some work and stuff, and I feel like I'm soaking all sorts of stuff. I feel like 30 years younger. Then I sit down and then says, okay, about an hour. I'm saying, yeah, fine. Having a cup of tea and, an odd scotch. I'm watching our Mr. Dickens, as you quite rightly described, a legend. And then, wow, gone, someone unplugged me. I was unplugged. And then this morning I thought, God, I've got to phone Frank back. And there we go. Phone you back, and we're talking about everything in the world other than Charles Dickens.
Yes, yeah, because that's for Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
We talk about literature, the history of literature. And what people don't remember or don't recall, I'm not saying remember, is that everything that's happening throughout history always has a theme of literature, and vice versa. literature as a theme of what's gone on in the past.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
incredible.
that thing without the scribes
Yeah,
taking notes.
no,
Wouldn't know the real history, and then that gets compromised, doesn't it, across history when kings and rulers say, "Don't put that in.
yeah.
Listen, tell everyone that he started it. I didn't start it," or whatever the kind of untruths.
The
When
untruths.
when was the biggest historic kind of untruth that we, the people, fell for?
There's loads of them. Like modern day? Modern day. Let's take modern day for example.
Yeah,
And the biggest untruth. I mentioned this ages ago, not ages ago, just a few weeks ago, that the Americans had a plan to go into. This is in 1999, and this general goes in. He's in an interview, and he just puts the paper up like that. He says, "I've just come out of a meeting, and these are the 7 countries that we must take over." And the journal said, "Where are they?" And he mentioned a couple of African countries, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Libya. Now, all the propaganda that was coming out when I was a student, that I wanted to be an archaeologist,
yeah.
right? And I had the chance. I had the chance to go to Palmyra in Syria,
Oh,
and Palmyra in Syria was beautiful. But I took a year out, stupid enough. So I never went back. And I could have gone to Palmyra, but also done a 6-month dig in Pompeii. I love Pompeii. Been there that many times. Honestly, I've been there that many. I think I've been more times than Caesar did in his leadership as emperor. I've been there, honestly. Point is, um, when ISIS started, they blew up most of Palmyra up. Palmyra up. They blew it up. These ancient Roman buildings, and it was beautiful. If anyone's ever been to Turkey and seen Ephesus, it's incredible, Ephesus. It's incredible. Well, Palmyra was well better than that. So then you go to, the likes of Syria, as I said, Bashar Assad. Now, the Assad, they were father and son that were ruling. So all the propaganda came in. Bashar Assad's dad died. Then he took over. And they were trying to say he's not a real leader of a country. This is what the Americans were saying. And also, he doesn't like his people. Then all the propaganda started against him. All the propaganda. Then, as all the propaganda was going in, all the hate and going in against Bashar Assad. Bashar Assad was married to an English girl. There was Christians living in Syria. Christians, they had their own communities. Priests were there. Right? So you leave that alone now. Then you go to Libya. And Libya, if anyone doesn't, I'll surprise you here if you don't know about Colonel Gaddafi. Colonel Gaddafi was a good man to his people. He was a good man. He gave them dowries if they were getting married. He gave them homes. He gave them free electricity, free everything. He gave them. He gave them everything. So the Americans needed to get rid of him and Bashar al-Assad, because they were the two countries they wanted to do regime change in. Then you come to Saddam Hussein. And I'll never forget John Pilger interviewing a young girl. A young girl, she was 18, 19 years of age. And she was at university studying medicine. She wanted to be a surgeon or a doctor. I'm not quite sure. One of those two anyway. But medicine nevertheless. And she ended up dead. And that was a full front page, not front, middle page spread on this girl, this young girl, student. The Americans came in, didn't they, with the British? Based on a lie. Based on Saddam Hussein and the lies and propaganda said about him. I always remember Saddam Hussein, people were, some of the propaganda was saying he's got all prisoners and they're waiting to be executed and all this, And Saddam Hussein said, is there any jails in America that has condemned men who are going to be executed? See what I mean? So we flipped the coin there.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
you have that. Forget the Afghan fella's name, you know what I mean? But they were the main people. And Iran, they left Iran until the last country to be overtaken. And when Trump the other week turned around and said, we're going after the spiritual leader, and then he drew back on it because he didn't realize that you don't do that. You don't do the spiritual leaders of Muslims. But anyway, that's all the propaganda. That's all the lies that is actually said. So it's modern day. It's always been like that. Everything has been like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the same as this I'm not going into it. That's for another day, about Ukraine. I've mentioned that loads of times. But people don't believe it. People really don't. They don't believe that Bashar al-Assad. Please, if you don't believe me, just have a look. Pre-American intervention in Syria. You can Google their cities. They're absolutely beautiful. People were living a freedom. Beautiful it was. All the cities in Syria. Same as in Iraq. And Iraq, as we all know, was based on a lie, but so was Syria. So was Syria. So was Gaddafi. Think about it. All based on a lie that he was killing his own people, and he wasn't. He wasn't. He lived in a tent simply because he said, I'll live in this tent until every person, every citizen has a home, a brick home in Libya, my people. And that's what you get. And what you've got to be careful of as well, which is for another time, are agents called the NGOs. And they've been going for many years, the NGOs, doing colour revolutions. And one's going on right now. And that's in Georgia. That's in Georgia. So that's going on. But the Georgian people, they're not having it. The same as in Serbia. The same as in Slovakia. The same as in Hungary. They're not having it. They're not having anything. But why the Americans went there, and I'll finish on this, was to destabilize the whole of the Middle East so that all the migrants could go into Europe, because that's the only place to go, even the African countries, especially Somalia.
Yeah.
So they were there, and you have lots of Somalians here. So they were all on the move over to Europe. Then you had the big rush. It was to destabilize Europe. And you've only got to look today about every country. I'm talking about ordinary people.
Yeah.
Ordinary people kicking up a fuss. And I don't mean, just kicking up a fuss like a little argument. They're really annoyed at their government leaders. You've only got to look at this country and storm it. Everybody's kicking up a fuss about it. You can't wave a flag or anything. It's to support the likes of the Palestinians. You can't do it unless you're there, get seized and arrested and put in jail.
Yeah.
It's only happened the other day. I'll have to see what these are saying. I'm sorry, Albany. I'll have to see what these are saying, because I've just seen a lovely girl, very good friend of mine. The red bird, saying hello to Bella Italia, Johan, and Toscano. Yeah. Lovely. Anthony missed Frank. Oh, the red birds. That's what you said to miss.
Not in the end, red bird.
The red bird says these are electric humans run out of church quickly. That is Anthony. Charge. They do actually. The red bird. At the opera the other night, they displayed a Palestinian flag. Why not our flag after all this? Is England, or is it? Point is, it's not so much, red bird, as showing a Palestinian flag. It's showing what's going on in Gaza. The support, any people who come out and say, we should be showing our flag. We can't show our flag, as you know. You can show a Union Jack, but there's that kid the other day who went to school, the history thing, only last week. If this is what you're talking about, and you're so right, she was a student. So they has a history day, which they do all the time. And she went as, I forget what she went as, but she has a Union Jack dress on. And they sent her home. He said, no, you can't have that. Now, that is wrong. It's just like going back a few years ago when we had, I always forget the name of this bloody shop, but you had the English flag, the white with the red cross. But as they said, that offended people. And what they meant by this was the Crusades, the Red Cross Crusades, we see it with the white smock on and the Red Cross going across. They were the Crusaders. They were the Knights Templar. But anyway, they're saying that it offended people. So they stopped people from using it. The red flag, the Red Cross flag, the English flag. But, you could have the thistle up. You could have the dragon, the Welsh dragon up. You could have the shamrock up. But you couldn't have the Red Cross. So you see, it fluctuates. It fluctuates, and that's the way it is. But the Palestinian flag, it's not in support of anything. It's in support of genocide. I'm sorry. It's to remind people that genocide is going on and they want it stopped. Genocide.
Yeah.
The murder. Look, I pay a premium for things. And it's shocking what I've seen. I'm not going to go through it because it upsets me. Johan, General Wesley Clark and the 7 countries. Thank you, Johan. You're so right. It was Clark and the 7 country list. And it was shocking. That was already done. The answer, and Iran is the last to take over. Iran has never invaded anybody. That's why I keep telling people, what's the Chinese ever done to you? What's the Chinese ever done to us?
Nothing.
What has the Russians ever done for us? To us?
Nothing.
And yet we've invaded them, not just once or twice. We've invaded them loads of times through little snidey things going into Russia. Go on, I'm sorry, Anthony.
No, I mean, my only addition to that is that I think humans are fundamentally undermined by themselves because we believe a script. Someone puts something up and says, this is the truth. We automatically believe it. And then over years, it starts to unravel. Historians must have been pulling their hair out well before the conflict with the French before the First World War, with the Spanish Armada, which again was an essay in bull shinola. It was not the full story, but the ability for an audience to gather behind untruths. The modern day thing is we return to Hitler as if he's the only one. How can he do it? All of these people listen to this one little angry man. It's happened forever, hasn't it? It's happened
all the time. It's always happens. It always happens. You get the likes of, I was looking at something the other on that Twitter thing, X, and someone mentioned about Che Guevara. Oh, you should have heard the people calling him murderer, he's a rapist, he was this, he was that. So anything to do with revolution, they're all rapists and whatever. And I was listening to Piers Morgan. I don't like Piers Morgan. I really don't like him for what he says, and he's a puppet as well. And he had this woman on called Daniela Weiss. I've never heard anything so vile in all my life coming out of her mouth. She's known as the godmother of settlers in Israel. She's horrible. I advise you to go on YouTube and get it up. Please get it up. Piers Morgan. But I tried to comment. I tried to send him a tweet, but I don't follow him. And I'm not going to follow him. And I was going to say, why didn't you have anyone opposite her? Because he always does, He always has someone who supports, the Palestinians, for example, and the genocide, the saying about the genocide, and it's wrong. But he has about 3 others against, all for what's going on with Israel, by Israel, in Gaza. But he had no one on the opposite. He had nobody just there on their own. And I couldn't comment. Anyway, the Redbird says, kids told to wear clothes to represent their culture. Young girl, and I just mentioned that, wore British flag dress and sent home because others complained. Diversity at its best. I don't think others complained. Others didn't. It was the teacher, it was the school, because the school now has the authority to just stop and send anybody home who's supposed to be either racist or, Islamophobic or anything like that, honestly. And, they're not. They're not.
Yeah.
Toscana. Hi, Anthony. Hope everything is good for you.
Oh, Toscana, thank you. Hi, good evening. Yeah, everything is good for me.
I'll let tell you. Ciao, Anthony. I'm Franco. Hope you haven't got too much of a hangover, Anthony. Yeah, that's all.
No, never. Don't do the hangovers now, Bella. I'm well asleep before the hangovers kick in. But thank you.
And when you wake up and again, I've got a hangover, you just go back asleep until it's gone. Christopher. Hi, Frank and Anthony and Jason and everyone. Like and subscribe. Isn't that lovely?
Brilliant.
I love him. Christopher. Them all. You can like and subscribe or subscribe and like. Frank always gives you options.
Yeah.
Here's my honest, this lady, Annie Mac. I know Annie. Comes from the same area as me, and she lives down south now with her husband. And her husband, I've never met him, but he sounds a lovely fella. He really does, just a sound fella. And I said to her one time, because she comes up and says, Frank, will you take us out for a walk? So I take her and a couple of her friends, who I know, by the way.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, he'd like to meet you here. And I said, oh, that's great. I still haven't met him, like. But what she does, she goes to India. I think I did mention this, actually. A good friend of mine and her husband goes over to India and looks after the poor. That's what she does.
Wonderful.
That's what she does. And remember my rosary. I didn't know I had them. I always have them with me, Annie Mac.
Yeah.
Always have them, the rosary. Remember you gave me them?
Yeah.
So, just lovely. Lovely lady. Caring lady. Couldn't agree more, Redbird. How can wearing a Union Jack dress be offensive? I despair, says Toscana. St. George, yeah, you're right, Harry. St. George.
Yeah.
See, I'll tell you, if you remind me on Wednesday, right, for the English literature, the history of literature, I'm sorry, not just English, the history of literature. If you remind me on the day to talk about Sir Edmund Spenser. Can you remember him?
Yeah.
Jason will remember. I'll tell you something about that. And about the Red Cross. But you want to know. I don't say them words. You're nice. You're nice, sweetheart. And that bird says, Toscana, Europe is ruined by you know who. Callum. Hello, Franco and Anthony.
Good evening, Callum.
Now he's got the flag, and he's not like, he's just reminding people about the genocide.
Yeah. You
can't look at a country and look at the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Everybody, for years, and every year you always have films about, the Holocaust. Yeah. Two of the greatest films I've seen about the Holocaust One was it with Adrian Brody called The Pianist.
Yeah.
Fantastic film. Fantastic. And the other one, and I said at the time, this should go in all the schools. And it was called The Boy in Striped Pajamas.
Yeah.
Now, what reminded me the other day was in an Italian film. I'm going to forget. It's not what I want. What a beauty. Oh, fucking hell. I always forget this. But it's one of the great films. And it's about a Jewish family, wife, husband, son, Jewish. And then the fascists come in. I'm not talking about ordinary Italians. You've got to understand that. And these fascists come in. Concentration camp. What a film. True story. A true story. So you had all that. Now, I only said, I don't know whether I said it to you, Anthony, during our conversation. I wonder if they'll make a film about this, what's going on today. And I said, I don't think so, do you? Because they won't.
No.
Hollywood's talking about. What about the other genocide they don't do nothing about for them? It's the only one they are talking about. What about the other genocide? They don't do nothing. What's that? What's that, Redbird? You've got to...
Any genocide is evil.
Ranny says, I'm commenting. Can you see it? Yeah, you know, I've been mentioning you there. She must have done that, you know, a bit further down. But yeah. Can hear you loud and clear. Hello, everyone, says Callum. Toscana, Redbirds, it's an invasion. But again, as I mentioned about the Americans wanting to destabilize the whole of the Middle East and some parts of Africa to destabilize Europe. And this is what's going on today. But this is not for now, unfortunately. Callum says, just got myself a nice Barca 2010-11 final shirt with Messi on it. Very good. I like I think that's the best strip, is the Barcelona strip. I think it's a great strip. I really do. The best in football.
What is good about the Barcelona thing is, years and years ago, I went there from my cousin's, like a stag weekend. We there with our dads and stuff. Every shop and news agents or whatever in Barcelona were very proud of their local team. So you could buy something with the team emblem on, you know. And it wasn't about empowerment. Like, it wasn't about any of that. It was just about pride in their own.
Do you know what? I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to mention it. And it's here in Paris with Laney. I won't mention it. And the fridge magnets. I'm not mentioning it. It was the funniest thing I heard over the weekend. I was in Stitch and I was still laughing about it. I'm awfully sorry here. There's loads of comments. I'm awfully sorry, people. Bella Italia. Yes, it's wrong when you can't wear your national flag on a dress or hat, or even a flag. Why you should be proud. Why they should be proud. This England, why can't people be proud of it? It's not that, it's the people who are saying it's offensive to other people.
Yeah.
Which is absolute. I can get into arguments with people. And you've got the likes of the British law, for example. And the British law is being overtaken by another law, which shouldn't be allowed. And that's my gripe. That is my gripe. No country should go in, no immigrants, that's all they are, should go into another country. Just imagine if I just want to live in Italy. That's where I want to live. Always have done, always will do. And when I got 2 jobs there, they're the most regretful things of my life by not going because of other commitments. And if I would have been single at the time, I would have been there. I would have been living there now. I would have been living there. But anyway, that's another story. Now, my point is, if I was living in Italy and I wanted to bring in Italy British law, they'd kick me out. You can't be. But unfortunately, there's another law that's being promoted here. And that's wrong. This is a sovereign country. And no people should come in and demand that they should have a law. That's my gripe as well. I've got lots of gripes, to be honest. Pack on chat. Oh, yeah. Hiya, Pack. Ginger Spice wore a Union Jack dress. She should have been sent home for a sick. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I don't mean sent home for a signal, which I do agree with. But what if she wore that today? What if the Spice Girls were all of a sudden, they just come on the scene now? And you see the girls, and she's there with a Union Jack on. What would you do? She'd say it's offensive.
I like to think that she'd wear it because at that time, we were living in our own country under the illusion of it was only the far right thugs and stuff who adopted that, which started in the 70s. And then she was kind of reclaiming it, if you like, for us normal people. And for kids, and for they had a massive following at the time, so she would have been warned by the people who look after them. You can't wear that. You're associated with the National Front or whatever, at the time. And she wore it and said, "No, it's where we're from." And
it's so changed now. No matter who you are, everything is woke. Everything you look at. Could you imagine? I'm going to literature here. Could you imagine Shakespeare writing The Merchant of Venice? Wouldn't be allowed.
No.
Wouldn't be allowed.
It wouldn't be allowed.
Could you imagine Charles Dickens writing Oliver Twist? He wouldn't be allowed.
No. Well, you have.
He wouldn't be allowed. And the Jew of Malta, Christopher Marlowe, wouldn't be allowed.
Well, you have the modern equivalent of that. It's like we go to the 80s and you have the likes of our brilliant one of our own, Alan Bleasdale, who wrote Boys from the Black Stuff. And he didn't write it to upset the rest of the world. He wrote it because this is what's happening. This is how people are living. This is the poverty, and this is what drives them. And then you have, obviously, our other local and great and just English writers who put that out. The problem is, I think, is other than the things that we get to see, is that the bigger power who control the media won't put stuff out. So they won't put it out.
I'm not going to say, I don't want you to name, right? I don't want you to name, but the same people own the media, and I mean every outlet of media.
Yeah.
Newspapers, Hollywood, everything.
Yeah.
So you've got to be careful. You really have to be careful.
Yeah.
I was talking to David Owens today, and he just sent me I can't read it now, unfortunately. Right, so let's get on these and we'll go for the break. Simon says, "Hi guys, sadly we have a political elite who are elite and live in their own bubble. They live in their own bubble. I forgot to bring my reading glasses in. And are subservient to appeasing anyone who's greasing their palms. We have no leaders, just puppets and their puppet masters. And you've only got to ask, who are the puppet masters?"
Yeah.
Simon.
That's a global thing. Yeah.
Of course, it's a global thing. But the global thing are the vassals, unfortunately, by the Americans. And Johan, Daniela Weiss was on Louis Theroux's Theroux. I like Louis Theroux, actually.
I like Louis. Yeah.
Documentary, The Settlers, as well. You can see the evil she has in her heart. Vile pit. She's horrible.
And I think Louis showed that great in a wonderful, effective manner.
The Redbird. Bella Italia, it's called diversity, and apparently we are not included, says the Redbird to Bella Italia. I, for one, am sick of it. Our culture being stolen. Why is that fit? Exactly. Listen, I seen something yesterday, or no, Saturday now it was, and some fellow was going around Liverpool, with a camera, but he hasn't got his right name. I forget his name. So anyway, and it shocked me. I couldn't believe what I was watching. And he did it the day before and put it out. So it was only a few days ago that he actually filmed. And I was talking to a friend of mine today, David Owens, great historian. And I said, "Have you seen this?" He said, "I can't find it. I think it's been taken down." But it's frightening about Liverpool. It shocked me to the core. I went, I can't believe this. But I can't say what it is, unfortunately. Anyway, Franco, we are home soon. Me and Alt want to see you. It'll be fun. Come and have a cup of tea with me. Come and have a cup of tea with me. It'll be great to see you, Annie. Honestly, it really would, sweetheart. You know the score. You know the score. I'll send you my address and my phone number. Okay. Simon says, what disgusts me is there is no accountability for money fountain here or in the EU. All we hear is ECHR and giving money to everything for the French, the Germans, and the EU, Ukraine, when it doesn't end. Well, if they got rid of Zelensky and the Americans want to bring in another fella, another puppet, but this fella's worse than Zelensky, and it's what's his name? I forget his fucking name. I always forget this fella. He's got a horrible name. Begins with it says he used to be a general in the army, and Zelensky stopped him, sacked him, got rid of him because he couldn't general anything. The Russians were just smacking them all over the place, so he sacked him, and he became Zaluzhny, and he's far worse than Zelensky. And if you think he's bad than that big Ermac fella. Simon says to Redbird and the Legals, if people knew just how much they get, there would be a civil war. BBC, etc. only tell you tip of the iceberg. I don't watch it. I will not watch the mainstream media. I will not watch them because I'd have no telly. I really wouldn't. I'd just throw something at it myself as well. Johan, thank you. Life is beautiful. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yes, it is.
It's incredible, Phil.
Yeah.
Thank you, Johan. I've seen a boy in a striped pajamas. Go film that, Frank. Says Colin. It's brilliant.
Powerful.
It is powerful.
Very emotive.
The little the commander, the son, and he gets dressed up in his pajamas and thinking that it's a holiday camp. When he goes and sees his little mate, because he makes friends, doesn't he, through the barbed wire with this kid. Well, let us tell you, Franco and Anthony, I've been obsessed since I was young about the Egyptians and how they made the pit. Right. On Friday, is it Friday? Am I getting it wrong? Yeah, Friday. I've got a ufologist on. If you're interested. Conspiracies and theories. This coming Friday.
Wonderful. It is absolute marvel. The history that we've tried to not so much the pyramids, but the history that we've tried to hide with glass boxes and buildings and yeah.
Well, I've always said, Bella, and I've been saying it for years, who built the pyramids? Who built them? Because no one can tell me, and they can carbon date back 10,000 years. This country, we were still running around when the Romans came 2,000 years ago. with woad on our bums to say what, the colour woad,
Yeah.
to see what tribe you came from. But the pyramids built thousands of years before the likes of the great Greeks and the likes of the Romans. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Giza. How they built that?
Right.
No one can tell me that some fella came in and went, I tell you what, lads, get it around and got a bit of paper, parchment, and got through this thing. And went, hey, lads, I want you to build that. 4 sides, get us up there. Okay, where are we going to get the stone from? Oh, it's about 3 months away. It'll be all right.
When you consider it's alignment with the stars.
And around the world.
But same as Stonehenge over here. It's like.
And the stones in Calderstone.
Yeah.
It's mad.
Yeah.
If you take I always get coordination on these 2 lines. Perfect. Right. On each side of the world. And the pyramids. And statues. Right, like that. They're exactly around the globe. Exact.
Yeah.
To the finest degree.
Yeah.
The Giza pyramid has moved in 6,000 years. 6,000 years has moved, in sand, less than a quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
Less than a quarter of an inch. It's gone from that, like say, I'm just doing the movement.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. To that, less than a quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
How is that possible? How is it possible to have to be in line with Sirius? It's incredible.
I think it's almost otherworldly. But it's like now we've got the money globally. There's this bulk of money. We have the so-called technology, which is second to nothing. We can't come close to.
No, we can't build a pyramid.
No.
The Americans, they went, so we're going to build a big pyramid. And someone advised, don't build a big one, build a small one to see, yeah, right. Couldn't do it. Never had a clue. And that was only a few years ago.
Yeah.
It was only a few years ago. Couldn't do it. Anyway, we'll have a quick break if our Jason's there. See you after the break. See you after, people.
This is the Collegiate of Shaw Street, a very famous place of learning. Today, there are fancy apartments, but at least it's still here. And just around the corner from the Collegiate is its neighbour, SFX, St Francis Xavier School, and the two of them, the 2 wonderful buildings, are linked to our next hero. It's a funny place, Liverpool. You'll always find a place of tranquility, and this is Whiteley Gardens here on Shaw Street. Peace, birds singing, beautiful day. Now that's what George Gabriel Curie longed for in the trenches during the 1914-18 conflict. George Gabriel Curie, born Liverpool in 1896, and he was educated at St Francis Xavier School, Salisbury Street, then at Stonyhurst College, Ribble Valley. Now, he was an apprentice in the cotton trades in the Albany in Old Hall Street, and when war broke out on the 4th of August 1914, he was commissioned into the Pioneer Corps as a second lieutenant. The pioneers, what's the definition of the pioneers? They never get the credit that they richly deserve. Now what the pioneers did, they actually repaired the roads. They went out into no man's land and dug the trenches for an advancement of the Allies, brought the ammunition up, even the barbed wire. The pioneers' job was really hazardous because they came under immense fire continually. And on the 8th of August 1916, at a place known as Arrowhead Copse near Julemont, the Battle of the Somme was raging. Curie and his men advanced into no man's land under heavy enemy fire to dig trenches for the advancement of Allied troops. He completed his mission, but with heavy casualties and the wounding of a CO. He went out again into machine gun swept no man's land in order to bring back his wounded CO. In broad daylight, in full view of the enemy, and extreme heavy fire, he brought back his commanding officer. This conspicuous gallantry earned Curie a Victoria Cross. He was promoted to full lieutenant from second lieutenant. He was transferred from his regiment to the Royal Flying Corps as a pilot and promoted to captain. So what happened to George Gabriel Curie? Well, he survived the war. He came back to Liverpool and he wanted to go back into his own cotton business in Old Hall Street, but unfortunately that had collapsed. So he had no job. So what did he do to provide for his family? He opens a chippy called the Chip Pan around the corner from St Francis Xavier School, his old school, Brunswick Road. And there he was, happy as Larry, serving his customers with his fish and chips. Then the Second World War broke out and he enlisted yet again. And what did he do? He actually landed on the 6th of June 1944, D-Day. What a survivor this man was. Survived the First World War, the Second World War, and finally he did get his call. And in 1956 he died, and he's buried at St Peter's and Paul, Crosby.
Do you know what? I love that George Gabriel, you know. I really do. I love that George Gabriel Curie. And I would guess what, you know, I was saying to Anthony today about how the Americans cornered the market in the First World War. And, oh, he's gone. Got his coat there. But anyway, you know, it's just so sad that, you know, the likes of his family had lost all the business. They were in the cotton business, but the Americans cornered it. The markets in the First World War. They went out of business. He was a great, great man. He was a great heroic figure. But there's more to it than that. I just want to, I'll give you the quote. These who would make you believe in absurdities would make you commit atrocities. And that's happening today. And that's by Voltaire. Then you have the likes of Oscar Wilde. Patriotism is the virtue of the vicious. Think about it. Think about that. The virtue of the vicious, and that's patriotism. We're all patriots. We're all patriots at heart. I have to bring out Leon. It's there now, look. What happened to you, Sly Boots? You thought it was going to go on a bit longer, didn't you?
I had to pause.
Right, so I'll go through some of these.
Yeah.
Bella says, Frank and Anthony, I've been, oh yeah, honestly, just listen out for us. The Red Bertie, God loves a dreamer. I think we all dream, don't we?
We have to.
If you can't like dream.
And dreams do lead to actualities, you know, they can become reality.
Yes, yeah, I understand that. That's if you're inspired. That's if you've got your own inspiration in check.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can achieve something in life.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in that philosophy, and it's not a new thing, and it's not a hippie thing. It's been the primeval time. Yes. It's like that old thing of you can't find what you're looking for, and you tear your space up in arms to look for this thing. The minute you stop looking for it, and you sit and you just wait, it comes to you. It's there, or whatever. You know.
See, there's different paths, isn't he? People take different paths in life. You know, you can go down one path and be successful. Then all of a sudden something crops up and you take the other path and you end up in jail for life.
Yeah.
It's just nuts, you know. I look at some things in America and there's billionaires in America doing life without parole. All because of the greed. All because of greed.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. Just stupid people, that's all. Don't want to give up the money in divorce courts.
Yeah.
But they'd rather kill. Simon says, but we get the good news today that water pollution may be cut by 50% in the next 5 years. But guess what? Our bills are going up. Can anyone get anything right? Why is it? Why is no one held accountable and go to jail? Because it's all corrupt. Privatization is the worst thing that could happen.
Yes.
And I thought Starmer would come in and just dispose of it like that. We'd all be better off. But he hasn't, because he's what you call a deep state actor. He's a puppet. Now, the deep state is American-led. We're the vassals of America. So is all Europe, Western Europe, that is. And Annie says, Anthony, it was the same in Buenos Aires with Boca Juniors. Boca Juniors. Great football team, then. But, you know, life is beautiful, Franco. That's what it's called. Thank you, Bella. And Johan. Two beautiful people. Let me know.
Yeah.
The far right have appropriated the England flag. Says Pak Hung Chan.
Yeah, they did. But and that's going back to before when we talking about the Spice Girl. I think she was trying to reclaim that for
Yeah, because it's history. There she is. There's the girl.
That's
There's the girl.
That's
And
brilliant.
as Annie says, Franco, you as you know, I travel. Wherever we go, we respect the country, culture, and traditions. Of course we do.
Yeah.
Of course we do. I go to Italy, as you know, quite a lot, Annie. And believe it or not, I grew up on pasta, you know, in the household. And when I go over there, you see like cafes and whatever, English breakfast, but you get mostly in Spain those things. English breakfast served here, Sunday lunch, Sunday roast served here. Not that I go to Spain, right? But that's what you get, and
Yeah.
you just get people going to for the English. But they don't have a fucking. I'm sorry to swear, but they don't have an English breakfast at all. They don't. They don't get up in the morning and doing egg, bacon, sausage, and everything else, and beans and whatever. They don't do it in their own home. They just go to work with a couple of rounds of toast down them and they're away. But why do you go to their country to taste their cuisine? That's what I do. I don't have a bowl of spaghetti. I have a bowl. I think I would though. But we do, and of course we respect others' traditions, cultures and traditions. And that's the beauty of humankind, by respect and respecting each other's culture. That's what it is. But you don't go to other countries to change the culture to their culture. And this is what it's all about, unfortunately. The Ottoman say, what a name. Smash up the likes, people. The Ottoman say. We built our culture on our institutions on fairness for all, no matter who you were or where you came from. This is the mistake the mass media is making. No one should jump the queue for anything. Well, I know I've been to Spain a couple of times, and it's only what you said, Simon, and this is genuine. This a mate of mine said, "Listen, will you come over and help me to decorate here?" And I went, oh. I said, "Okay," because I was off. I was on my holidays. He said, "Can you take a couple of weeks off?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm owed them, yeah, I'll come with you." So I went over to Bella Medina or somewhere like that. So anyway, we went there, and John had two apartments knocked into one. It's fucking huge. So anyway, we never done it. We never painted it or anything because it was too hot. But we just went around. Now here's the crux of it. The next day, I go to a shop, and I'm standing in the queue. There's a queue. And this Spanish lad, the Spanish lad has a white shirt on, like a silky shirt, black trousers and black shoes. And he went right to the front. And all the people were saying, hey, you get the back of the queue, get the back of the queue, come on. And I said, hang on a minute, this lad'll be working. He's in a rush. He's not on holiday where he can stand in here for half an hour. So that's what it's like. And I was in a bar with our Jared. Was it our Jared? Yeah, I'm sure it was our Jared. And these lads from Yorkshire walked in. And I should have heard them with the barman. Frightening the barman. I said, oh, behave yourself. I'll hear you talking to you. But anyway, they got off. Just horrible. And that's these were young fellas though. Just out for a good time and they're on holiday, most probably first time they've been abroad. But that's the way it is. The funniest thing ever happened though was when I was in a queue. I was going to Italy, he was putting our bags in, and there was these two, they were women, they must have been around 30, and they were behind me, and they were going on the way to the Canary Islands. And Josie said, do you know what? They speak a foreign language, and they're all Spanish over there. They're all Spanish, and they speak a foreign language. Oh, fucking hell. This is our culture. Sorry about that, but lots of illegals in Liverpool, and Eastern Europeans only going to get worse, says the red bird. See, as you know, this city's always welcomed immigrants, because we're all immigrants, every one of us, every single one of us.
That's what makes
we're all immigrants.
Yeah.
But as I said, America destabilized the Middle East. That was the plan for the big movements into Europe. And they succeeded. But it's not so much as, like I want to emigrate to England or anywhere in the UK and writing it down and saying, listen, I will, you accept me or whatever. I've got someone to vouch for me. It's not like that. It's illegal. And what's frightening in people is the amount of young illegals. That's what it's frightening about. These young illegals who have got phones, they're not like in tatters coming from war-torn countries and going through countries that are not war-torn to get to England. Bella, wonderful, Franco. I will be there on Friday, listening as usual. Thank you, Bella. I think you'll enjoy it. The lad's name is John Hanson. I'll tell you a little bit about John now. I'll take that beautiful girl off. I've got to go back up. Oh, no, I haven't. But she was, that's shocking what happened there, though. That is shocking what happened to that girl. But anyway, I'll tell you a little bit about this John Hanson. Just a little bit. It's only a little bit. He was an ex-inspector, police inspector. And there was a murder case, and the body was actually found in the countryside. So they set up an inquiry, like caravan or whatever they did. And as I said, it was in the middle of the countryside. And when he had to go this night, up to the caravan, to see what's going on, any more news or whatever, he said. And I hope I've got it right, but I will ask him on there Friday. So as he was going up, a bright light hit him, bright light overhead him. And he thought that there was this big street lamp, but it wasn't. It was hedgerows. There was nothing there. The only bright lights was the cat's eyes, separating, each side of the road. And he was going up there. And this bright light hit him. And he stopped because it was on him all the time. And he stopped. And he got out. And he looked up. And it was a ping in the sky, just above him. And he followed it. But not only him, but this other policeman, them Panda cars. Remember the police cars, the Pandas?
Yeah.
And he came behind him, and the two of them followed this thing in the sky.
Oh.
And it just stopped over by a field, overlooking. They well past the caravan where he had to go. And they were looking at this thing. And it just zoomed away at such a phenomenal speed. And that's how he got interested in. And he's written books and painting. Got him on.
Brilliant.
Simon 2, the red bird. The correct definition is irregular, not illegal. Otherwise, Mr. Starmer looks like a little silly when he refers to the UK having border security. First, the Afghan League, now they're the SAS. As a joke, yes. And Annie, Franco, I visited the pyramids, came out of the tourist stalls. I shouted, Alice, get me a cup of tea. I'm just going into the shop. Next thing I hear the Egyptian say to his brothers, get in the shop, there's a scouser. No, he doesn't sell lies. And he does not sell lies. What's his face, the cheeky bastard? Get in the shop, there's a scouser. Oh. And he's yet by the pyramids. I think he built the pyramids, to be honest, of scousers. Well, Simon, Anthony, you are right. Back then, you knew your neighbours. People cared about one another and took pride in their area. People looked out for one another. Now, where is the community spirit sadly dying?
It's hard to find, Simon. It's there. We still have beautiful people, as you guys are proving, certainly to Frank and I, and we still meet them. It's once again, no, it's like Liverpool in terms of media has one newspaper, which I don't think is produced in Liverpool now, and it will constantly give you the worst and most horriblest news items that are there, and it will totally neglect the good things that are going on. So it's there. We've just got to keep open eyes. Good people are still there.
Yeah, of course. And Toscana says to Simon, votes should be earned, not bought. But when you have corrupt politicians, they will always let certain people jump the queue. That's spot on. Well, I know Biden, what he wanted, when he was letting all the, people through their southern border, they were getting sheets of paper. And they were saying, you'll become a citizen if you sign this paper. But you've got to vote for President Biden against Trump. why they were letting them all in. It's shocking. Patriotism is supporting your country all the time and your government when it deserves it, says Mark Twain. Mark Twain loved Liverpool, you know. Loved Liverpool. And the red bird. I've heard the blacks saying they built our country and the Muslims saying the same. Keep repeating Ali over and over. It becomes the truth to some because it suits their agenda. Anything suits anyone's agenda, to be honest, Redbird. You need to learn to speak posh, Ali. That's what Black wants.
There we are.
But everywhere around, it's Shankly. One of the greatest stories of Shankly, and he went to Ferencvaros. We were playing Ferencvaros in the European Cup, and he was sitting outside with Nessie. He said, "I'll let the lads, enjoy themselves. You know, the players, that is." He said, "Come on, Nessie, go outside." So anyway, they were sitting outside having a cup of tea or coffee or whatever they were. And Nessie said, this is Nessie telling the story. And she said, it was just a dirt road. There was nothing behind the hotel. The hotel was lovely, but there was nothing outside. It was all bushy and pink, trees and a dirt road. And he's just sitting there. And all of a sudden, this fella's just walking down the road. And he shouted, "All right, Belle, we're going to stuff these tonight, mate." And just carried on walking. And she said it was the first time that Bill was gobsmacked. And he just looked at me, she said, and he said, "Nessie, they're everywhere. They're everywhere, Nessie." Scousers, just like Annie. The pyramids.
Well, he's right.
Incredible, I think it's lovely. Just lovely. Oh yeah, Toscana, I'm sorry there, Tos. What baffles me is the people who come to this country then want to change it to be like the one they left. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is the problem.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Wherever we go, just respect where you've gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to a young lad earlier who once worked at illegal hotels, and it's outrageous what goes on and what they get. He put the tower. He put in the tower when media, government catch on to. He will be put. How do you mean he'll be put in the tower? I could tell you things, but I'm not going to say it. I have a TEFL, what you call a TEFL, teach English as a foreign language. And someone rang me one day and said, "Have you got a couple of hours to spare? Any days during the week?" And I went, "Yeah, I've got." He said, "Would you come down? You've got a TEFL." And I said, "Yeah, no," because I knew this principal. I knew her, she was a lovely lady. And anyway, I went down. And what went on, I'm going back years ago. I'm going back to the 90s, late 90s. And what went on then, I'll tell you some other time. No, tell you no. But it was absolutely sickening. And I knew there was a girl there, she was beautiful. She was Brazilian. A Brazilian girl, in the class. The rest were, these other people. And I said to the principal, I said, "None of these can speak English. There's only a Brazilian girl who can speak English. None of them can." And she went, "Can't he?" I said, I think, this is exactly what I said. I said, I think they're pulling me clunker here. I said, I know they do, but they're not admitting it. Until I caught them one day in the class, because instead of getting vouchers, they got gyros, and I had to get them out. And I said, I'm sorry. Now, this is after a couple of weeks, you know. I said, I'm sorry, but none of you can speak English. I said, there's only one speaking English person in this class, and that's the lovely, I think her name was Sylvia or Maria or something like that.
Yeah.
I said, the girl, I said, so she has, and I pulled her there, I said, she has a gyro, the rest. I said, I'm awfully sorry, I'll bring an interpreter at some point to tell you about the gyro. The hands went up. Oh, we speak English. We understand. Should have been sacked what I said. I said, so you've learnt English within 1 minute, 30 seconds, and I've been here 2 fucking weeks trying to teach you them.
Wow.
Colin. He was just Colin. Shocking. It's the way it is. Simon, everyone is allowed to be patriotic to their own countries except the British. Says that. But point is, as I said, Oscar Wilde, patriotism is the virtue of the vicious. We're not the vicious. The people in power are. And you can even go back to 1660 or whatever it was. And Thomas Hobbes, great philosopher, and he said, man is nasty, brutish, and short.
Yeah.
Think about that. Man is nasty, brutish, and short.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to Leonardo da Vinci, he said a similar quote.
Yeah.
About the most ferocious, vicious beast on the planet is not animal, it's human.
Yes. What's going on today? The Afghan League was under Tories in 2022, nothing to do with Starmer, says Christopher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, Anthony, what paper is that?
Oh, on the wall, a slice of William Morris.
She loves anything like that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
She loves anything, and he's the type. Do you know what? Do you know she comes up and sees me and she's got a date and everything? Will you come over and meet her?
Yeah.
She's lovely, and she loves your lady, you know.
I'd be honoured to. Yeah. Yeah.
She's a lovely person, honest. Her and her husbands who have never met.
Oh. Now it's time.
But he seems a lovely fella.
Wow.
See, that's the beauty of people. You know, we've always mentioned about trust.
Yeah.
Haven't we? And that's it. Trust. Be lovely to meet you, honestly, Annie Mac. You know that, sweetheart. Johan.
It's William Morris.
Get with the new lingo, Frank. They are called UAP now. Unidentified anomalous phenomena. says, Johan, behave yourself. Don't want you to come on here no more, trying to show me up. No, I know that they call the UAPs unidentified aerial phenomena, is it? Anomalous. So you've got the anomalous, and I know about the aerial phenomena. Very good, Johan. Get with the lingo. The UFOs to us mere mortals. To be honest, Johan, he's lovely, isn't he? Simon. Anthony, correct. It's a rag, that paper you're referring to. Why do people still buy it? I put it in the same bracket as the Daily Rag. I think it's printed in Manchester.
Yeah, it is Simon, and it's dumbing down. It has been for years.
Yeah.
So there were two papers. One was the Daily Post, obviously, in our kind of generations, and that was the other one. It's I think people genuinely want to know what's going on in their area, so they buy it for that information, not for the. I'm speaking from my perspective, not for the celebrity tuition
Oh,
that goes. We like to know why they're knocking down that, and why they're building this, and how big the hospital is going to be, and when this will open. But sadly, we don't get that kind of information, and there's nowhere else in a pick up and read format that we can get that. And still, we live in a technology society, but there's an awful lot of people who don't do iPads and don't have computers. Everything is from a phone or the old. I remember when they told us years ago that analog radios were not going to be used. Now it's got to be digital. So throw away all the old stuff.
that's right.
I've got a radio there that I put on whenever the match is on or whenever something is interested on, which is old school. It's like 20 years old radio. Still works fine. Great.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But you know, getting back to the Echo, I remember it when I was going,
Yeah.
and I forget it. What was his, I forget his fucking name. I wouldn't mention his name anyway, but he was an investigative reporter for the Echo. And I said, "What are you moving for?" He said, "Well, we've been told that the better printers up in Oldham." I said, "That's a fucking lie, that. Better prints. Are you having a laugh?" He said, "That's what we were told." I said, "But no news will come out. You just mentioned about streets or, people like to know what's going on. You're not getting stronger." And most of them were gone, most reporters. The Echo were gone. Now,
Absolutely.
they're not going to come down here and walk around the fucking streets of Liverpool and go, "What's going on here?"
Yeah.
I said that at the time.
Yeah. They started that a long while ago, kind of underneath our observations, and most we've met and we've worked with some phenomenal people, lifelong photographers and journalists, and absolutely amazing people who've sadly been forced out, pushed out, and it continues. Nowadays, you will have someone who's earning a few bob by going to Chippy on the high street, seeing a car accident, taking a photograph on a mobile phone, and there you have a reporter.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
No, it's not the same. I think journalists, I think they're played out now. And Annie Mac says, "Pack on Chan, pack on Chan. I'm fucking posh, lads." I never swore. It was that Annie. She swore. You know she can. The Simon says to the Red Bear, I can understand the anger and fear when you hear these stories. The latest I hear today is when they are coming over, they are claiming in Britain and Ireland. That's why there's trouble in Ireland as well. But there's trouble also in Sweden and places like that. Italy now is shutting they're sending 10,000 prisoners home because the jails are overcrowded. And I said at the time, I'm not going to say why, but you've got to come to your own conclusions why they're overcrowded all of a sudden. Back to Tosca. When the Brits go abroad, they like to congregate together, and he put spot on. Oh,
Yeah.
you are so right. You are so right.
Yeah.
And Annie Mac says, love Shankly, gentlemen, great socialist and manager from a blue. Yeah, little Annie's a blue. And he great socialist. They're everywhere. They're everywhere, yes. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And the Red Bird. That's true, Simon. It's heartbreaking when our poor pensioners and homeless, especially our veterans, suffer because money is constantly diverted to those poor illegals. Can't spell what two-tier Stalin says. I think he's worse than Stalin. You know, people like you get the idea about it's like the Soviet Union and whatever. It's fucking worse. You can't say anything. I think I'll get this. If you ever don't see me doing a podcast, it's because I've been shut down. And I'll just plead, was it me? It was the chatters. And I'll just say, sanction them, get Trump to sanction them all. Simon will get sanctioned, and Johan. Simon says, Franco stroke Anthony. Difficult question to answer. If you feel you can't, that's okay. What is your hang on. What is you where? Hang on, I told you that's predictive text there. PM. How would you address migrant issue? Do we adopt the Australian approach? Look, how would I adopt it? I'll show you the map, if you don't mind. I'll show you the Mersey. Bear with me on this, boys, and let me take this up. Excuse me. Right. Now let me zoom into, see this one. No, this one. This good old Liverpool map. Right, so this is they're all the ships here, right? They're all the ships, all the great ships here. Loads of them. And do you think that we couldn't stop dinghies even overnight? And what I'd do, being honest, if it was my job to stop them, and people do have jobs, but the unfortunate thing, this is just my opinion, no one else's. I think they're restrained from doing their job. I think they're restrained. They can't do the job properly. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying they can't do the job properly, because they haven't got the experience. What I'm saying is, they've been ordered not to do their job properly. Suppose like you had a line of people here to stop certain dinghies from crossing here, and they're just allowing them to get onto the beach and go inland. That's what they're allowing to do. So I'd just stop the lot. And also, I'd send out patrol boats and have live, well, not live, but gunfire. Not live gunfire, and shoot over their heads. Because they won't know that it's not live. And just send them back. That's off the top of my head. That's off the top of my head. And if you do land, you just go straight to prison. No ifs, no buts, no nothing. If you've got phones and whatever, confiscate them. And just send them either on a ferry or a plane and just get them out of the country. I know that it'll cost a lot of money, but it'll be a lot cheaper than paying all thousands upon thousands of illegals every week and putting them up in hotels that the government has to pay for. And the hoteliers, they want them gone. They're saying, you know, we're stopping holiday makers who come here from getting a room. So you've got to show, you've got to frighten them, if you know what I mean. You're not coming here. But that's me, you know, that's just me. It won't happen, unfortunately. It will not happen. But I've just said. Do you know where that place is there, Anthony?
That's like the death dock. Is that where the boats are kind of seized until they?
Oh, that's you're talking about the Stanley dock.
Yeah.
The pawn shop dock, as they called it. No, that's further along. It's further along now.
So that's Albert.
And that's it, look at that. That's St. Nick's Church.
Wow.
It just doesn't show you, unfortunately. It just doesn't show you. But
that dock was the Albert dock.
Yeah, that was the Albert, yeah. That was the Albert. St. George's Church.
Wow.
Fantastic. There's the town hall. Like there. Castle Street. That Bank of England there was the first outside the provinces. Outside London. First in the provinces. In 1846. And here, St. George's Hall, which is brilliant. And here, there, that's St. Anne's Church now. And that's where one of the most famous pioneers of Liverpool was buried. And we did, we were kids. Yeah. And his name was Wyndham Sadler, the first fella to cross an expanse of water. And this is where I grew up. And Annie grew up down here. They were talking to. Love it. Love it.
Wow.
Do you know what Jason said to me before? Hey, we're talking about the pyramids, and I said, there's no way. I said, and the Giza's only moved like a quarter of an inch in thousands of years. He said, My house was built in the 50s and it's moved 6 foot. So you just wrote Jason. I'm going to show you something here, boys. Just bear with me. It's only what Jason said. Look at that. You know, when you look at railways,
Yeah.
incredible. Right into Exchange Station. Just trying to look for something here. Just bear with me, people. Please bear with me. Don't have a go at me. Because I'm a nice person. Where are we? And there it is. There's the pawn shop dock.
Yeah.
That is it.
Wow.
Isn't it unbelievable? And there's the mechanical bridge. And the mechanical bridge, believe it or not, was the first in the world. Built by Jesse Harley, the same fella who built the Albert Dock.
Yeah.
He built that. And, you know, ships couldn't pay. They were forced in there, that'll move. And they were forced in there until they paid, you know, because of going into the dock.
Yeah.
And they were let out through here, bang, and away they went, wherever they were going on the Little Merry Way. And there's the Titanic Hotel. And they're doing this one up now, aren't they? This particular one. I can see this from my window.
Yeah. That was the Heritage Market in that building, was it?
What? Say that again. Say that again, Anthony.
That was the Heritage Market in...
Yeah, the Heritage, yeah. And you know what it was at one time? It was the tobacco warehouse.
Yeah.
And it was the most bricked building in the world. The most bricked building. It used more bricks than any other building in the world. The tobacco warehouse. And it was built in 1901 by a fella named Leicester. Incredible building.
It is. It's an incredible area.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know how these fellas done these maps, you know. Incredible. Really incredible. Aren't they the drawings? And
yeah.
Beautiful.
They are beautiful.
I'll just show you something here which I made up with. There's St. George's Church in Everton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this here is the water tower.
Yeah.
And that's still in use today. There's the Everton lockup. There, see?
Yeah.
Where's it gone? See, the two things like that. Yeah, there it is. There's the Everton lockup. Now, there's a myth surrounding this that Prince Rupert built it. But it wasn't. Prince Rupert was here between May and June 1644. And that was actually built in 1787. So it was well over 100 years before that was built, and not Rupert, because he calls it Rupert's Castle.
Yeah.
It's incredible, the history surrounding Liverpool and that. Because I used to have a print, and right there at the top of it, right there, was a big arch of whaling bones, from Wales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a fellow named Brocklebank, Daniel Brocklebank, came over in 1776, or 1774, I'm sorry, and he set up a whaling business to go and catch whales and bring them down the Mersey, which he did. And I had a print. I don't know where it's gone. I must have lent it out as usual and not get anything back. And it was brilliant, of these whaling bones. And Molly Bustle's shop. But we'll be talking about that.
Yeah.
Or as we talk about it on the history of literature
last week, yeah, and the fact that Everton was kind of like a Brighton, kind of like a place of its own,
Yeah.
a place where writers and artists would choose to go. And obviously, one of our greatest writers, Sir Charles Dickens, used to go to Everton quite often, sit on the bench and overlook the city.
He did. And do you know all these, we had great poets, we had great writers, we had great artists, as you know, during the mid-19th century. And I'm convinced Dickens went up there and seen these people at some point, because he stays in the Adelphi, not the original Adelphi Hotel, calls it the finest in the world. And you know where these people used to reside, and hang about and have a drink and whatever. And it was the bottom, believe it or not, of Brownlow Hill.
Wow.
And some of them lived there.
Wow.
All these wonderful artists. Do you see that there?
Yes.
That became the power station. Do you ever remember the three chimneys? Right, going to school and. But I think, when you look at maps, and I love maps, I really do.
It's me too, because it's factual information.
Yeah.
It's not lies or half truths. It's
No.
as is or as was. That was there. You never got an artist map designer to lie. Like Herdman, the artist that we all love, you, and Jason, and some of the pictures, he took it upon himself to factually say this was here on that date.
And you know what? He's the only one to have a pictorial of the history of a city.
Yeah.
And without him, we would know. Well, we know about the history, but we wouldn't have it in
No.
print, if you know what I mean. In pictures.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, I pity I can't use my arrow on it. But where you've got that, see the church, that's St. Nick's Church.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to the right of it, that red brick building, as you look at it, right.
Yeah.
That was the second tower.
Okay.
Because there's only been 3 towers. Can I take this off a minute?
Yeah.
No, you can't see it. But let me just take it off a minute. See, this castle here,
Yeah.
when you get I haven't got it. When you get let's see if I've got it. Let's see. The first tower. I'll have to, do you know where that is?
That's the Lyceum.
Yeah. But look at the colour of it.
Beautiful.
Look at the colour of it.
Yeah, it's almost white.
Yes.
Well, would have been.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And what's got me, like they knocked all the sides of it down, but the little building next to it on the right, the little building,
Yeah.
well, that belonged to the Lyceum, if you know what I mean. And that's still there today. Many people just walk past it. And it's still there today. Beautiful building. And they wanted to knock it down.
What was it originally built for, Frank? Was it?
Reading rooms. And they used to lend books out. And I show, do you know where what's the name of that bloody pub? Is it the Mona? Mona? Oh, what's the name? Well, anyway, in Duke Street, if you go along Seal Street,
Yeah.
and you come to Duke Street, what's that pub name? I forget the name of the pub.
The Swan?
The Mona? No. But anyway, I forget the name. I think it begins with it. Well, the building, when you're walking along and you see the pub on the opposite side, the building to the right became the very first public library in the world. But they took it off the Lyceum because the Lyceum was lending out to their patrons, knowing that they'd get them back. But the likes of you and I and everybody else on the chat were left out. They were left out. We couldn't borrow any books. But that library in 1862, I think, started lending books out to the ordinary public. It's the first of its kind in the world. But that definitely was the Lyceum. But that was only to the patrons, to the likes of Roscoe,
Yeah.
William Roscoe, the Ratcliffes, all these wonderful people. And it was built, they should have opened the doors in 1798. But something happened and they had to go back in again. So it opens in 1801. I think the pyramids got in the way.
Was William Roscoe part of the reason it was built? Or was he a supporter after the event?
Yeah. I think Pak Hung Chan, I think he gives a good thing there. Shanks welcomes immigrants. He saw himself as one, a Scot in England.
Yeah, like us. Like us.
Yeah. And Johan, these kids learn English faster than Trent learned Spanish. And Johan says to Redbeard, the foreign kids go to school not speaking English. They spend billions over the years for interpreters. That's true. I can vouch for that because it happened with me. But Toscana said the funniest thing last week when she was watching a TV program. You know, I don't know whether it was Brookside or what. And the dad said, "What language do they speak?" That was the funniest thing I heard. Until you came along with your magnets, French magnets. But you're right there, Edbert. And Annie Mac says, Franco, set us up with Andy, be great, lad. That's you coming down. But Laney, go to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jason says, I think Edmund is special because he painted what was around him. He wasn't painting the landmarks and grand buildings all the time. He was painting and capturing light.
Absolutely. That's why it's truest artist we talked about.
And Simon says, Adrian Henry famously described Liverpool as famously described Liverpool described Liverpool as at the present moment the centre of consciousness of the human universe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice fella. He lived by he lived right facing Lippe.
Yeah.
I always forget the name of that street, strangely enough. But he lived right facing there. I was talking to him one day.
Yeah.
I said, all right, Adrian. I said, what are you doing around here? He said, I'm just going for a bottle of milk. I only lived there. He's going for a bottle of milk.
He was absolutely lovely. I met him a few times over years.
Yes.
Absolutely lovely. So supportive. To everyone, but certainly me. Yeah, a lovely gentleman. Yeah.
And it's not strange, is it? You know, that these famous people are so open.
Yeah.
You know, they're very open.
Given.
They don't shy away or anything.
No.
You know, they don't fuck off, you know. They don't do that.
No. Not from the good ones.
No. Look at Andrew.
True. Yeah. Prime example, Frank. Yeah.
Prime example. I'd love him to come on here, you know. I'd love him to. Don't sit with you or even me. Then he can drive home because he drives now, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, that's for a few years. Yeah. Yeah.
He used to say to me, you know, you got to get a car, you know, pass my test. I said, well, why don't you? He said, got to pass my test first. And now he did, you know.
Yeah.
But I'd love him to come on, you know. Do you know when he's not
Yeah.
doing nothing, you know, just one night, if he's doing nothing. You know, me and you. You know, me and you. You know, if he's doing nothing one night, we can make a special program.
Yeah.
I'd love that. I really would. Through Schofield. Simon says, where out you ghost ferries? I go, where out you ghost ferries will cross the Mersey manned by skeleton crew. Adrian
Henry, yeah.
He died the first out of the lot of them, didn't
he? Yeah.
He died.
Yeah.
So the Monroe pub says, Pack Cha.
Yeah.
Pack, thank you. I never began with an M, the Monroe. And I was thinking about it there, strangely enough. An American president. That's great. Thank you, Pack. I really mean that. No, I'm not a. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Jason says, my granddad was from Barnsley. I never understood a word he said, and he never understood a word I said. So it's brilliant. So, and on that wonderful comical note, to show another picture. Look at that. Look at that. And that's the Balfour Institute. And Balfour, as we all know, split up Palestine and gave piece of land and called it Israel. And look at all what's going on today. That man, as I said, he came from Liverpool. The worst scouser in the world. Lovely Bella. Good night, Franco and Anthony and everyone. Thank you, Bella.
Good night, Bella. Keep well.
Yes. Keep well. Simon. The Liverpool Rubber Company was founded, credited with designing the first rubber-soled sports shoes, attaching canvas as uppers and to rubber soles. These early shoes, sometimes called sand shoes. Do you know what about that, Simon? Our police force in Liverpool were the first police to have rubber soles because they always had hobnail boots, and you could hear policemen walking. And you know the little villains, those little burglars.
Yeah.
Just wait till they go. But wait, like when the rubber soles came in, they used to catch them. They used to catch the burglars because they didn't hear.
Oh.
And we also had the very first, believe it or not, car radios. The police.
Yeah.
The first hospital radio. Toscana. Britain is always welcome foreign. I should know we're having Italian parents, but you have to come over legally and you have to contribute, not take. Not lovely. And it's as simple as that. And that's why.
Lovely. And I think that echoes globally wherever we go.
Yes. And Simon, my guys, thanks for another great night. Say Simon.
Good night, Simon. Thank you.
And lovely Toscana. Buonanotte, Bella Italia. You're welcome. Thank you, Frank, Anthony, Jason, and legends in the chat for another great show. Take care, everyone. Have a good night. See you, legends, tomorrow. Yes.
Thanks. Take care, Johan.
And the Red Bird says, so you're part Yorkie then, Frank? Is that when I went like that? No.
Still northern.
Do you know what? That's just come on me now. You know the itch. Always get the itch. Always get the itch. So what do you think about tonight?
I think a wonderful ramble through history, present day, and the links between the two, sometimes shocking, sometimes beautiful.
We could be worse, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Could be worse. And you know about immigrants.
Yeah,
When we had the first immigrants to come into Liverpool, you know, from outside really was the Chinese. Pitt Street, Nelson Street, and that's where they stayed.
yeah,
And everybody grew to love them. Then the Italians. But
Yeah.
we've had lots of migrants, you know. We even had a Japanese
yeah.
community.
Now that was fascinating when you mentioned that, and I'd never heard of it. And the kind of area was at the back of the present day Empire Theatre,
Yes,
away from, yeah,
because where they actually stayed, was in it was a street, and it's still there today, right next to the bowling. That's where they stayed. Because they wanted to learn about whaling in the northern hemisphere.
yeah,
So they came to Liverpool, and that's where they stayed. They stayed for about a year. We had Armenian
yeah,
community, Armenian. But the very first, as I said, was these Chinese lads.
yeah,
And the Chinese, you know, loads of them. They say, I'll stay here.
Yeah.
You don't mind these scousers here. So they stayed. Loads of them went, as you know, over to America. And without the Chinese in America, the railways would never have been built. It's just like the navigators in this country. Canals would never have been built, and the railway would never have been built without the navigators, and they were the Irish.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
you know, people talk about migrants.
each of us are races, and we are proud descendants of us, bring something in.
Yeah, look, there's Annie. Now Annie's been to China. She's been to China, and she loved. I don't think anyone's seen China today.
Yeah, my dad was,
China's the biggest airport, I reckon, in the world.
yeah,
And it's the size of Liverpool, the airport. You'll have to get trains to get to wherever you're going. Incredible. I mean, in the airport, little trains to take you, you know. Go to the carousel. You'll have to get that train over there, mate. That's lovely. That. Buona notte a tutti. Good night, all, she says. Great show as always, Frank Carlyle. Thank you, Toscana. Love your honesty, I do.
good night, Toscana.
Pakung Chan. Thanks for an enjoyable show, everyone. That's all. Thank you.
Good night.
And Bella Italia. Franco and Anthony, sorry, I forgot to say thank you for the wonderful show once again. See you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Thank you,
I
brother.
love it. And as Ali said, I love China. Beautiful cities.
Yeah,
Beautiful cities. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I meant about, you know, when I mentioned at the beginning of the show about, you know, you asked a certain question. And I said, well, you know, the lies and the propaganda that's going on, you
yeah,
know, what was the first? But I gave you the prime example of what happened a few years ago.
Yeah.
And Johan came in and said about Clark, the general, he had the piece of paper of the 7 countries they wanted
Yes.
to destroy and take over.
Yeah.
You see, so it's things like that that gets the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And China, I'm sorry, Syria, I said, just go on Google. Just Google what Syria was like before all this nonsense. Beautiful cities. Beautiful. Fucking ruins. They're in ruins. Homs was an unbelievable city. It was white. Homs was white. The buildings to shield from the sun. It was incredible. Flattened. Like a pancake. Flattened. And that's the sad thing about, I've got to say it, America and regime change. Let's go and bomb the fuck out of them and that's it.
Yeah.
Up there, yeah. It's the Irish flag, that. Sure. And Johan China is actually what science fiction writers of the past imagine future cities. Well, spot on, Johan. You're so right. And on Wednesday, we'll be talking about some certain people, won't we, Anthony?
Yeah. We will.
And the
We will.
literature. But tomorrow is the football one, boys and girls. I just want to say thank you to all. I'll have to thank Gap Painting Services because my little poster wasn't up.
Yeah.
And Gap Painting Services was there somewhere, but I couldn't find it. And Gap, don't struggle. Please don't struggle. Get these lads in. Fully time served, fully insured, fully everything, to be honest. They do a first class job. If you work for the NHS, you get a special discount. If you're, honestly, if you're as old as Anthony, you definitely get a special discount. So, honestly, please don't struggle. You know that I struggled. I fell, broke my neck, and look at the state of me today. Don't do it. Don't do it. Get these people in, get the experts in. And they're dead reasonable as well if you don't fit into that particular category of NHS or being an elderly person. Just get them in. And that's Gap Painting Services, who sponsor the Frank Carlyle podcasts. And the Annie Macmac says, crack a show, Franco and Anthony, and all the gang. Isn't that lovely?
Thank you, Annie.
And obviously got to thank Jason for sitting there and throwing these mad pictures up that he needed them.
Yeah. The unseen member of the band there.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, definitely. And he's the only man in the world, who's got a house that moved 6 foot from the 60s, and the pyramids moved less than a quarter of an inch after 10,000 years.
Go. Another scout first. Put in the book.
And on that wonderful note, the most important people on the show is Anthony, who is my lovely friend, and who else? Anthony, who are the most important people for the show?
Beautiful chat.
There you go. The chat. And there's, if you want to look at Anthony's work, search Facebook, Instagram, or Google for Anthony Brown Artist. And there's where you have everything. And look at Lennon there.
Thank you.
Hey, Frank, how are you doing, Scout? Says Lee Argent. Just finishing, Lee, I'm sorry. join us tomorrow, Lee, 7 o'clock, football show. And that just leaves me to say, enjoy your little evening and what's left of it, and see some of you tomorrow. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you all.
Thank you, lovely chat. I'll see some of you tomorrow. Ciao.